Hey you guys, I wanted to quickly show you how I create some vignettes in my home and also in clients' homes, and also how I teach people through my virtual design business how you can do the same thing in your own home. So this is a really great example of mixing old, new, vintage items. Now I want you to know that this vignette, and when I'm speaking of vignette, I mean a grouping, a display. And so you'll see that in, residential homes, commercial homes. And so this display or vignette has been like this for years. The only thing that I've ever changed is really just the dried flowers that I put in. And even these have been here for probably about a year, if not maybe even a little bit longer than that. And the reason being is because I love it as it is. Now, when there's holiday celebrations, I'll add some lights and things. Sometimes I'll pop a candle on here. But there are some design rules, if you will, that I like to break down for you, because I always believe that rules are made to be broken, especially when it comes to design. But there are some great principles that will really help you find that balance and that scale, and really help you find sometimes that missing element, which is what I like to call as the soul of a home. And so let's go into this really quickly. So there's a rule that's called odd numbers, okay? I don't know if it's called odd numbers, but odd numbers work when it comes to displaying things in your home. So here you see odd numbers of threes with just this grouping here in the middle. You see the two lamps on the end. There's your five if you want to expand it out. Now I do have a mirror here, which would typically take this to what? 6 items. So again, that's a place where rules are made to be broken. Now here's what I want you to understand. There's something about odd numbers that the eye sees and the eye identifies as balance and being something pleasing to the eye. So that's why you'll see a lot of designers, whether it's in commercial offices or especially residential interiors, will group things in odd numbers because of that reason. And so here I have a tall item, a medium size, and then a short item. I could have gone a little bit smaller with this, but I didn't want too much space between this item and that item. I want them to feel like they're related, okay? Like they're part of the same family. And a lot of times when you're grouping things together, sometimes a piece will be missing. Like if I just remove this bell, it still looks okay, right? It still looks okay because you have the 5 items there. You have the 2 items in the middle, you have the 2 lamps, there's your 4, and then the mirror makes the 5th. So it still looks fine. I can do it just as that. But also because I really like this bell, I added it here because it was just an extra touch of something rustic. I have the gloss shiny base here. I have some shine here with this base, and then I wanted to bring it down a little bit by adding something rustic with a rope to it, something that's old and beat up and worn. Now, this is a piece that I bought brand new, probably, gosh, I got it from a store I used to work at years ago. So that piece has got to be at least 10 to 12 years old. Actually, the same thing with this vase. And this is just a Goodwill find, and I probably paid, I don't even think I paid $5 for it. And so inside of this, I put dried hydrangeas, which I mentioned earlier. And these actually came from my neighbor's bush. And this was before I started planting them on my own. And so I love to let them dry out naturally because I love the colors, I love the textures. It just does something to me, so I love it. Now up here, I have a mixture of fresh, well, they were fresh, but I have a mixture of faux eucalyptus. I have a mixture of real eucalyptus that I just let dry it out, again, because I love the natural colors and textures that they evolve into. Now this is also a faux plant, and I don't know what it's called, so I can't even tell you. But I like the fact that it brings the texture. That's the thing that does it for me, is bringing in texture and bringing in that color. And then with this mirror back here, which I've had this mirror at least, I got it in 2013. So That tells you how long ago, how long, or how old this mirror is. And it's always been right here. I'm going to be painting this sitting room, and I'm going to have to take that mirror down. So anyway, but this is a peacock mirror. It's an Indian mirror, and it was actually brought over from India. And I absolutely love this mirror. Love, love, love it. The reflection that it brings, the texture that it brings, the warmth, that soul, because it's a piece from literally another country. It's not something that was just reproduced here in the United States. This actually came from India. And again, I just love, love, love this piece, this mirror especially. And then the lamps, these are lamps that I got 14 years ago too, from the same store. When you work retail, and when you can work for a design business and they have really cool things, that's a win-win because you get some really good deals. So these lamps I brought in, they bring a little bit of the glam. You have the acrylic base that they're on, and then of course the gold here. But because it has that texture, again, my word, that rusticity, which is not a word, to it, it makes it all come together. So it's not too shiny, not too over the top glam, because that's not my vibe, but it's not so earthy that it doesn't bring any kind of kick to it, okay? So that's where the gold comes in, the reflection from the mirrors, and then of course the texture and the colors. Now all of that is on top of this sideboard cabinet, and this is a cabinet that I bought almost 20 years ago, and I spent $60 for it, and this thing is solid wood. It is oak, and I kept it in its natural color for a while, and then I wanted to zhuzh it up, right? So I painted this turquoise on it, and this is a gloss on it, and then I had to, it didn't have any knobs, so I had to screw some knobs in it, and these are just not Home Depot, Hobby Lobby knobs that I put in. Again, that leans into the gold that you see there, that leans into the acrylic on the lamp. But then together, when you have all these individual pieces, it all comes together and it meshes really well. It creates balance. You get some color, you get some texture, you get some old world in a sense of travel, so it has a story. And when you bring all of that together in your space, that's what makes a vignette so good that you don't even feel like you have to change it up. A lot of times when you're putting a grouping together or you're decorating, a lot of times you'll feel like there's something missing. It's like, what is it? You're looking at it, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Well, when it comes to a vignette, you want to look for groupings in odd numbers, 3s, 5s, or 1, because I could have taken everything off of here, probably with the exception of the lamps, because I always think you need to have multiple sources of lighting. But I could have taken everything else off of here and just put a really awesome bowl on here, okay? Something for me, I would have put something like a woody, earthy bowl, a clay, organically shaped bowl, because I want to draw the eye right here to this centerpiece of this sideboard, right? And I want to make this whole vignette be a focal point. There used to be a rule where people would say you need to have one focal point in a room, and I never liked that because that didn't make sense to me. You can actually create multiple focal points in your room, and creating a really well dressed vignette is a great way to do that. So remember, do it in odd numbers. You know, if you can put art above your sideboard, that's always great. Here, one of the things you want to do, now you notice this mirror, you can't really see it up close, but this mirror is low enough to where it still relates to the furniture and the design that's up above it, that's above this cabinet. So I don't want that mirror to be really high up. I want it to be right here to where it's not at eye level, but it's also at the level to where it comes down and it feels a part of this vignette. It doesn't feel separated. Sometimes people hang art or mirrors too high and it doesn't feel connected to what's going on underneath, or it always feels like something is missing. So that's something that you want to check, is make sure that whatever art and things that you're putting on the walls, that they relate to the cabinetry underneath. And you always want to have a source of lighting on your vignettes, even if it's a small lamp. Now we have rechargeable lamps, those little small portable lamps in all kinds of styles and colors. So there's always a way to bring in that extra lighting into your vignettes. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Let me know in the comments what you do to bring those vignettes or to bring that life to the displays that you do in your home on cabinets and on tables. And I'll probably show you next how to design coffee tables, because sometimes those can be overwhelming too. So until next time, peace.